What if I told you that the very moment you change how you see yourself, your entire financial reality must shift? What if the wealth you've been seeking has been waiting for you to simply claim it? Listen carefully, because what I'm about to share will challenge everything you've been taught about money, success, and your own power. The secret to attracting wealth has nothing to do with your circumstances, your education, or even your current bank balance. It begins with a fundamental shift, not in what you do, but in what you assume to be true about yourself right now. Wealth is not something you pursue. It is something you recognize as already present within your consciousness. The moment you stop looking outside yourself for permission to be wealthy, the moment you stop waiting for conditions to change, you begin to activate forces that respond with absolute precision to your inner assumptions. Here's what most people get wrong. They believe their imagination is just wishful thinking. But imagination is the creative workshop of the universe, expressing itself through you. Whatever you consistently imagine yourself to be, whatever you feel yourself to truly possess, that becomes your lived reality. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to do something revolutionary. Close your eyes and enter completely into the feeling of already having financial freedom. Don't imagine how it happened. That's not your concern. Simply feel what it would be like to have more than enough. Feel the relief, the joy, the absolute certainty that all your needs are met. The world around you has no choice but to conform to this inner state, because consciousness is the only reality. Everything you see in the physical world is simply the outpicturing of someone's consciousness. But here's where it gets interesting. Your word carries creative power. Every conversation you have with yourself, every assumption you make about money, every feeling you entertain about your worthiness, these are not just thoughts. They are commands issued to the creative principle of life. If you find yourself saying, "I never have enough," or "money is hard to come by," you are literally commanding your subconscious to create experiences that match those words. But the moment you begin to speak from abundance, to think from wealth, to feel from having rather than wanting, everything changes. The technique is simple but profound. Create one short scene that implies your financial desire is already fulfilled. Perhaps you're opening a letter confirming your financial freedom, or checking your bank account and seeing the numbers you desire. But here's the crucial part. You must feel it as real. Feel the texture of that moment, the weight lifting from your shoulders, the deep satisfaction of knowing you are provided for. This feeling must become your dwelling place. Return to it often throughout your day. When doubt creeps in, and it will, don't fight it. Simply redirect your attention back to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. You see, most people have this backwards. They wait for wealth to feel wealthy. But the law works in reverse. You must feel wealthy for wealth to appear. You must assume abundance for abundance to manifest. Your imagination is not idle fantasy. It is the very womb of reality. Everything in your world first existed as an image in consciousness. The device you're using right now, the building you're in, the very clothes on your back, all of it was imagined before it was made real. You are constantly using this creative power, whether you realize it or not. Every time you picture the worst, dwell on problems, or rehearse failure in your mind, you are imagining just as creatively as when you envision success. The difference is in the direction of your attention. Stop worshiping facts. The facts of your current financial situation are nothing more than frozen shadows of previous assumptions. They do not define what's possible for you. The moment you realize this, you become free to choose a new story. Close your eyes right now and ask yourself, what would I see if my desire were already fulfilled? How would I feel? What would I be doing? Step into that scene completely. Touch the details. Hear the sounds. Smell the air. Make it vivid and alive. The more real it becomes in your imagination, the more natural it will become in your physical experience. You don't need to know how it will happen. That's not your job. Your only task is to dwell in the end, to live from the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. Your internal dialogue shapes everything. The stories you tell yourself about who you are, what you deserve, and what's possible. These are not empty thoughts. They are creative forces molding your experience. Every word you speak inwardly, especially when charged with emotion, plants a seed in your subconscious mind. Listen to yourself throughout the day. Are your thoughts filled with complaint and lack, or saturated with gratitude and expectancy? You cannot afford careless speech, not even as a joke. Your subconscious mind takes you at your word and begins immediately to create circumstances that match your dominant inner conversation. Instead of "I'll never get out of this," train yourself to say "everything is working in my favor." Instead of "I can't afford it," affirm "I am always provided for." These aren't just positive affirmations. They are declarations of truth spoken from the consciousness of abundance. Remember, feeling is the secret. Words without feeling are powerless, but words infused with conviction and emotion take deep root. When you speak inwardly, speak with the feeling that what you say is already true. Let your tone be one of calm assurance, the voice of someone who knows. The power to transform your financial reality is not hidden somewhere outside of you. It's not locked away in a course, a book, or a mentor. It exists within your consciousness right now. You are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you to awaken to what you truly are. The same creative force that moves the stars and governs the tides lives in you as you. When you recognize that consciousness is the only reality, you stop chasing the world and start commanding it. You no longer seek power because you realize you are the power. You were not born to struggle financially. That was learned, accepted, without question. But beneath that conditioning is your true nature, creative, abundant, unlimited. The outer world may have taught you scarcity, but your inner world knows no lack. The source of your wealth is not a job, a client, or an economy. Those are merely channels. The real source is your state of consciousness. Hold abundance in mind, and you must experience abundance in form. This is not attraction. This is expression. You are radiating your inner state outward. Turn inward now. Still your mind. Withdraw your attention from the outer clamor and become aware of your thoughts, your feelings, your assumptions. They are not meaningless. They are the blueprint of your reality. Begin this moment to assume you are already the person who lives abundantly. Not someday, now. Feel the reality of being provided for. Feel the certainty that what you need is already prepared. Let go of the question how and enter the state of "it is done." When you consistently dwell in this consciousness, outer changes become inevitable, not because you force them, but because you have aligned with a higher truth. You are using the gift of imagination not to escape life, but to shape it according to your highest vision. Do not look to others for permission. Do not wait for circumstances to become favorable. The moment you shift your inner state, the moment you say within yourself, "I am," you set the creative law in motion. You already possess this power. It has always been yours. All that is required is your conscious decision to use it, to believe that what you seek already exists within you, to walk in the awareness that your world is not happening to you, but flowing from you. Wealth begins in consciousness, because consciousness is where everything begins, not in a bank account or business strategy. Those are effects, not causes. The root of lasting prosperity lies in the invisible realm of thought, feeling, and identity. You cannot harvest abundance until you have first planted abundance in your mind. Your consciousness is the soil, and what grows must reflect what has been sown. True wealth flows from inner awareness, how you see yourself, what you believe about your worthiness, what you assume to be true about your relationship with abundance itself. When your inner state reflects prosperity, the outer world must harmonize with it. Feel into the state of wealth now, not as something you hope to achieve someday, but as something you are claiming in this moment. This is not pretense. It is alignment with the truth that everything already exists in infinite potential, waiting for your recognition. The common error is looking outward and reacting to appearances. But what you see is the result of past states of consciousness. To break the cycle, you must act from the unseen, trust the invisible. You are not subject to appearances unless you accept them as final. Ask yourself, What do I truly believe about wealth, about money, about my worthiness to receive? These beliefs are living energies, shaping your experience. If limiting beliefs exist, you need not force them away. Simply observe without judgment, and choose a new assumption. Begin affirming, wealth flows to me with ease. I am worthy of abundance. Life supports me fully. Say it until it feels natural, until it becomes part of who you know yourself to be. You are not merely repeating words. You are stepping into a new reality, shifting your inner atmosphere. That shift, though invisible at first, begins to reconfigure your world. Opportunities appear, resources align, people respond to your changed energy. The world reflects not what you want, but what you have become within. Wealth is not about accumulation. It is about expression. It is the free flow of life through you. And that flow begins when you no longer see yourself as separate from the source. The source is not outside you. It is you, expressing as your own awakened consciousness. Do not wait for tomorrow. Begin now to live from abundance. Not when conditions improve, but now, because now is all there is. And now is where your creative power lives. You are not here to chase wealth. You are here to awaken to it. The riches you seek arise from the depths of your own consciousness. As you feel it real, imagine vividly, speak with authority, and dwell in the awareness of already having. Life must respond. The law is beautifully simple. As within, so without. Stop looking to the world for confirmation and become the source of it. Live from the end, think from abundance, and carry the quiet confidence of one who knows it is already done. Everything you need to attract wealth exists within your consciousness right now, waiting not to be earned, but to be claimed. This is your invitation to claim it. But let me share with you something profound. There are those who will tell you that wanting wealth is somehow unspiritual, that desiring abundance makes you greedy or selfish. This is the greatest lie ever perpetuated upon humanity. You are here to express the fullness of life, and abundance in all its forms is your divine birthright. The universe is abundant by nature. Look around you, countless stars, infinite space, endless creativity flowing through every living thing. Scarcity is not a natural law. It is a learned limitation. You were born into an abundant universe, and that same abundance seeks to express itself through you in every area of your life. When you truly understand this, you realize that by claiming your wealth, you are not taking from others. You are adding to the total sum of abundance in the world. Your prosperity creates opportunities for others. Your success inspires possibilities. Your wealth becomes a channel through which more good can flow into the world. Now, let me tell you something that may surprise you. The reason most people struggle with money is not because they don't work hard enough or lack opportunity. It's because they have unconsciously accepted a story about themselves that keeps them locked in limitation. They have identified with being someone who never has enough or has to struggle for everything. Identity is everything. You cannot rise above the person you believe yourself to be. If deep down you believe you are someone who is destined to struggle financially, then no amount of effort, no strategy, no opportunity will permanently change your circumstances. You might experience temporary improvement, but you will inevitably return to the level that matches your self-concept. This is why the work must begin within. You must first become wealthy in consciousness before you can become wealthy in form. You must know yourself as someone who naturally attracts abundance, who effortlessly receives, who is worthy of the very best life has to offer. Let me give you a technique that will accelerate this transformation. I call it living in the end. Instead of working toward your goal, you must learn to work from it. Instead of trying to become wealthy, you must assume you already are, and think, feel, and act from that assumption. Every morning when you wake up, before you check your phone, before you think about your problems, before you engage with the world, spend 10 minutes in the consciousness of wealth. Feel what it would be like to wake up, knowing that money is never a concern for you. Feel the peace, the freedom, the joy of someone who is completely financially secure. Throughout your day, make decisions from this consciousness. When you're choosing what to eat, what to wear, how to spend your time, Choose as someone who knows they are abundant. This doesn't mean being reckless with money. It means moving through the world with the confidence and peace of someone who knows they are provided for. And here's what will happen. And this might seem impossible to you now, but I promise you it is the natural result of this practice. As you consistently live from this assumption, your external world will begin to rearrange itself to match your internal state. Opportunities you couldn't have predicted will appear. People will be drawn to help you. Resources will flow to you in the most unexpected ways. This is not magic. This is law, the law of consciousness. What you are conscious of being, you must become in your experience. It has never failed, and it cannot fail, because consciousness is the substance from which all things are made. But here's where most people stumble. They try this technique for a few days or a few weeks, and when they don't see immediate external changes, they give up. They return to their old ways of thinking, their old conversations with themselves, their old emotional patterns, and then they wonder why nothing changed. The truth is, changes in consciousness often precede changes in circumstances by what seems like a long time, but is actually the perfect time. There is a gestation period for every seed of desire you plant in consciousness. Just as a farmer doesn't dig up his seeds every day to see if they're growing, you must not constantly check the external world to see if your assumption is working. Your only job is to remain faithful to the assumption, to return again and again to the feeling of wealth, the consciousness of abundance, the knowing that you are provided for. The external world is not your concern. That is the domain of the creative principle within you, which knows exactly how to bring about the fulfillment of your assumption. Now let me tell you about the power of gratitude in this process. Gratitude is not something you do after you receive what you want. Gratitude is what opens the door for you to receive it. When you feel genuinely grateful for the wealth that is yours in consciousness, you are acknowledging its reality. You are saying yes to it with your entire being. Every night before you sleep, make it a practice to feel grateful for your abundance. Not grateful that it's coming, grateful that it's here. Feel thankful for the financial freedom you possess, for the security you enjoy, for the generosity you can express. This gratitude, when it comes from a deep knowing of already having, is one of the most powerful attracting forces in the universe. But I want to address something that creates confusion for many people. They ask, if I'm supposed to feel wealthy now, does that mean I should spend money I don't have? Should I act irresponsibly with my finances? The answer is no. Living from the consciousness of wealth means making wise decisions from a place of inner security, not making foolish decisions from a place of pretense. When you truly feel wealthy within, you naturally make choices that honor and protect your resources. You don't spend from fear or lack, but neither do you spend from a need to prove something. You move with the wisdom and discernment of someone who understands the value of what they have and knows more is always available. The consciousness of wealth includes the consciousness of wisdom. It includes knowing when to spend, when to save, when to invest, when to give. These decisions flow naturally from the inner knowing of abundance, not from anxiety about scarcity. Let me share with you one of the most important principles you'll ever learn about attracting wealth. You must become comfortable receiving. So many people are comfortable giving, comfortable working, comfortable struggling, but deeply uncomfortable receiving. They feel guilty when good things come to them, as if they don't deserve it or haven't earned it. This discomfort with receiving creates a block in the flow of abundance. It's like trying to fill a cup while simultaneously poking holes in the bottom. No matter how much flows in, it flows right back out because you don't believe you should have it. Practice receiving in small ways. When someone offers to pay for your coffee, let them. When someone gives you a compliment, simply say thank you instead of deflecting it. When unexpected money comes to you, even if it's just finding $1 on the street, receive it with joy and gratitude. As you become more comfortable receiving small things, you expand your capacity to receive larger things. The universe is always seeking to give to you, but it can only give what you are willing and able to receive. Here's another crucial point that will transform your relationship with money. Stop making money more important than it is, and stop making it less important than it is. Money is simply a symbol, a tool, a means of exchange. It has no power except what you give it. It is neither good nor evil. It simply is. When you make money your God, when you think it will solve all your problems and make you happy, you give it a power it doesn't possess. When you demonize money, when you think it's the root of all evil, or that spiritual people shouldn't want it, you push away something that could be a beautiful tool for good in your life. The healthy relationship with money is to see it as a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. When you are conscious of your true worth, when you know that your value comes from who you are, rather than what you have, then money becomes a delightful addition to your life, rather than a desperate necessity. From this consciousness, money flows more easily, because you're not grasping for it out of fear. You're not repelling it out of guilt. You're simply allowing it to flow as naturally as breath, taking what you need and sharing what you can. Now let me address the question that's probably arising in your mind. How long does this take? The answer depends entirely on how completely you can accept the new story about yourself and how consistently you can live from it. Some people experience dramatic shifts within days or weeks of truly embracing their identity as abundant beings. Others take months or even years to fully transform their consciousness and see corresponding changes in their external world. The timing is not what matters. The certainty of the outcome is what matters. What I can promise you is this: if you persist in the consciousness of wealth, if you refuse to return to the old story of lack and limitation, if you make the feeling of abundance your dwelling place, then the external change is not just possible, it is inevitable. The challenge is that your current circumstances will try to pull you back into the old story. Your bank account, your bills, your current income, they will all seem to argue against your new assumption. This is where faith comes in. Not blind faith, but faith rooted in understanding. You must understand that what you see with your physical eyes is the result of past consciousness. It is old news. It is the fruit of seeds you planted in consciousness, weeks, months, or years ago. It has nothing to do with what you're planting now, and everything to do with what you planted then. When you truly grasp this, you can look at your current financial situation with complete peace, knowing that it's simply the outpicturing of your former state of consciousness. You don't need to fight it or feel bad about it. You simply need to remain faithful to your new assumption and allow time for the new harvest to appear. This is why I teach people to live in the end. Don't live in the struggle toward your goal. Live as if the goal is already achieved. Don't think about becoming wealthy. Think as someone who is wealthy. Don't hope for abundance. Assume abundance. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every feeling you entertain is either reinforcing your new story or returning you to your old one. There is no neutral ground. You are always creating, always choosing, always assuming something about yourself and your life. Make sure you are conscious of what you're choosing. Make sure your thoughts, words, and feelings align with the person you are becoming, rather than the person you used to be. Let me share with you a powerful evening practice that will accelerate your transformation. Each night before you fall asleep, review your day, not to judge or criticize, but to notice. When did you think from wealth today? When did you think from lack? When did you feel abundant? When did you feel limited? Don't judge what you notice. Simply observe with the loving awareness of someone who is committed to growth. Then, gently revise any moments when you fell back into the old story. In your imagination, replay those moments from your new identity. See yourself responding to challenges from abundance rather than fear, making decisions from wisdom rather than worry. This practice of revision is incredibly powerful because it literally rewrites your emotional memory of the day. It helps establish your new identity more firmly and prevents the old patterns from taking root. As you fall asleep, do so in the consciousness of wealth. Feel grateful for the abundance that is yours. Feel peaceful about your financial future. Feel excited about the opportunities that are coming. Let these feelings carry you into sleep, and let them be the first feelings you experience when you wake. Sleep is a particularly powerful time for impression because your conscious mind is quieted and your subconscious is most receptive. The feelings and assumptions you carry into sleep are impressed deeply into your subconscious, and your subconscious works throughout the night to create circumstances that match those impressions. Many people have experienced sudden windfalls, unexpected opportunities, or breakthrough ideas that came to them in dreams or upon waking. This is not coincidence. This is the natural result of falling asleep in the consciousness of their fulfilled desire. Now, as you begin to apply these principles, you may notice resistance from family members, friends, or colleagues. They may make comments about your changing attitude toward money. They may try to pull you back into conversations about lack and limitation. They may even criticize your new way of thinking as unrealistic or impractical. This resistance is natural and actually a sign that you're changing. The people around you have become accustomed to you being a certain way, and your transformation challenges their own beliefs about what's possible. Don't take their resistance personally, and don't let it deter you from your path. You don't need to convince anyone else of these truths. You don't need to defend your new way of thinking or prove that it works. Your only responsibility is to live from your new assumption and let your results speak for themselves. In fact, I recommend that you keep your inner work private, at least in the beginning. Share your new consciousness through your being, rather than your words. Let people wonder what's different about you. Let them be inspired by your peace, your confidence, your joy. As your external world begins to change, as abundance starts flowing into your life in tangible ways, then you can share these principles with those who are genuinely interested. But don't try to convert the skeptical or convince the doubtful. Save your energy for your own transformation. Remember, you are not trying to manipulate the universe or trick life into giving you what you want. You are simply aligning with the truth of your being. You are remembering who you really are beneath all the conditioning and limitations you've accepted. Wealth is your natural state. Abundance is your birthright. Joy, peace, freedom, and prosperity are not rewards you earn through suffering. They are expressions of your true nature that emerge when you stop blocking them with false beliefs about yourself. The moment you truly accept this, the moment you stop arguing for your limitations and start assuming your possibilities, your whole world changes. Not just your financial world, your entire experience of life becomes richer, fuller, more beautiful. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You begin to feel excited about your future where others feel anxious. You begin to move through the world with a confidence and peace that draws good things to you like a magnet. This is not about becoming someone you're not. It's about becoming who you've always been beneath the layers of doubt and fear. It's about remembering your true identity as a creative, powerful, abundant being who is here to express the fullness of life. So I leave you with this. Everything you need is already within you. Every tool, every technique, every principle I've shared is simply a way of helping you remember and activate what you already possess. You are not lacking anything. You are not broken or incomplete. You are perfect, whole, and complete right now. And your abundance is simply the natural expression of that perfection. Begin today. Begin now. Assume you are wealthy, and let that assumption guide every thought, every feeling, every action. Live as if it's already true, because in the realm of consciousness, where all things are created, it already is. Your wealth is not coming to you, it's coming through you. You are not attracting abundance, you are expressing it. You are not trying to become prosperous, you are recognizing the prosperity that has always been your true nature. This is your moment. This is your invitation. This is your time to step into the fullness of who you really are and claim the abundance that has always been yours. The only question is, will you accept it? Everything you need to attract wealth exists within your consciousness right now, waiting not to be earned, but to be claimed. This is your invitation to claim it. Do you ever feel stuck, like your ideal life is just out of reach? What if the solution isn't about creating something new, but finding a version of yourself that already exists within the quantum realm? Today, we're exploring the mind-bending science that could unlock your ability to manifest desired realities by navigating your parallel selves. What if the few who already has everything you desire isn't in the future, but exists right now in a parallel reality? And what if I told you there's a way to access that version of yourself, to literally manifest your deepest desires by tapping into the quantum field? Get ready to redefine what's possible, because what you're about to discover will challenge everything you thought you knew about the nature of reality itself. Let's start with something that might blow your mind. According to cutting-edge physics, the universe you're experiencing right now might be just one of infinite realities existing simultaneously. This isn't science fiction. This is modern quantum mechanics, and it's fundamentally changing how we understand existence itself. The quantum field is the fundamental fabric of reality itself, an invisible energy matrix from which all matter and possibilities emerge. Think of it as the cosmic internet, where every potential version of your life exists as data, waiting to be accessed. But here's where it gets fascinating. This field isn't just some abstract concept that scientists study in laboratories. It's the very foundation of your existence, responding to your thoughts, emotions, and intentions every single moment of every single day. String theory suggests that reality operates on multiple dimensions we can't perceive with our five senses, while the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics proposes that every decision, every moment, every possibility branches into countless parallel universes. In one reality, you took that job offer that would have changed your entire career trajectory. In another, you moved to that city you've always dreamed about. In yet another, you're already living your most abundant, fulfilled, joyous life. These aren't just theoretical possibilities. According to the mathematics of quantum physics, these realities are as real as the one you're experiencing right now. But here's the fascinating question that scientists are starting to explore, and it's a question that could revolutionize your understanding of personal transformation. If these realities exist, and the math suggests they do, can we consciously interact with them? Can we tune into the frequency of our most successful, happiest, most fulfilled parallel selves? And more importantly, can we learn to shift from the reality we're currently experiencing to one that aligns with our deepest desires? Here's where it gets personal, and where everything you thought you knew about yourself is about to shift. You are not a fixed entity. You're not stuck being the same person forever, trapped in the same patterns, limited by the same beliefs, or confined to the same circumstances. At the quantum level, you are a dynamic energy field, constantly vibrating, constantly shifting, constantly choosing which reality to align with. Every single moment, you're making quantum decisions that determine which parallel universe you'll experience next. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every belief you hold, creates what I call your vibrational signature. This signature acts like a radio frequency, naturally attracting and aligning with realities that match your energetic state. Think about this for a moment. When you're in a state of gratitude and abundance, don't you notice more opportunities appearing in your life? When you're vibrating with love and appreciation, don't relationships seem to flow more smoothly? Conversely, when you're stuck in fear and scarcity, doesn't it feel like doors keep closing, like the universe is working against you? This isn't coincidence, and it's not just positive thinking. This is quantum physics in action. Your parallel selves are essentially different vibrational versions of you, existing simultaneously across multiple dimensions. There's the confident you who speaks up in meetings and takes bold action toward your dreams. There's the abundant you who makes decisions from a place of plenty rather than lack. There's the creative you who expresses your gifts fearlessly. There's the loving you who attracts deep, meaningful relationships. There's the healthy you who feels energized and vital. There's the successful you who has already achieved what you're currently working toward. They're not fantasies or wishful thinking. They're quantum possibilities that exist in parallel dimensions, operating at different frequencies, living different realities based on different vibrational states. And here's the incredible part that most people never realize. You can learn to tune into these frequencies intentionally. You can consciously shift from one vibrational state to another, effectively moving from one reality to a parallel reality where your desired outcomes already exist. This is the secret that quantum manifestation masters understand. You don't need to create your ideal life from scratch. You need to align with the version of it that already exists. Now let's get practical. How do you actually shift from the reality you're experiencing to the one you desire? How do you move from the current version of yourself to the parallel self who's already living your dream life? The secret lies in understanding that manifestation isn't about forcing the universe to give you something. It's not about pushing and struggling and trying to make things happen through sheer willpower. True manifestation is about aligning your vibrational frequency with the parallel self who already has what you want. First, let's talk about focused intention. And this is crucial because most people get this completely wrong. This isn't casual wishing or hoping things will somehow work out. This is laser-focused clarity about which version of yourself you want to embody. When you set a clear intention, you're essentially programming your quantum GPS to navigate toward that specific reality. You're telling the quantum field exactly which parallel self you want to align with. But here's what most people miss. Your intention must be specific, emotionally charged, and consistently maintained. The quantum field responds to clarity and emotional intensity, not vague wishes. But intention alone isn't enough. Here's what separates those who successfully shift realities from those who remain stuck in the same patterns. Visualization becomes your quantum bridge. When you visualize with emotional intensity, you're not just daydreaming or engaging in wishful thinking. You're actually rehearsing the vibrational state of your parallel self. Your brain begins firing in the same neural patterns as the version of you who already lives that reality. Scientists have discovered that the brain can't distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, which means when you visualize consistently and emotionally, you're literally rewiring your neural pathways to match those of your desired parallel self. Think of it like this. If you want to tune into a specific radio station, you adjust the frequency dial until the signal becomes clear. Visualization with emotion is how you adjust your personal frequency dial. The more vividly you can imagine being the version of yourself who has already achieved your desires, the more you align with that quantum reality. But here's the key. It's not just about seeing the end result. You need to embody the feeling state, the emotional signature, the complete vibrational experience of that parallel self. Positive affirmations work because they literally reprogram the quantum field around you. When you declare, "I am abundant," you're not lying to yourself or trying to convince yourself of something that isn't true. You're acknowledging the parallel reality where that statement is already true, and inviting that frequency into your current experience. But most people use affirmations incorrectly. They say the words without feeling the truth of them. They repeat phrases while their emotional state contradicts what they're affirming. True quantum affirmations must be felt as truth in your body, not just spoken with your mouth. Now, you might be thinking this sounds too good to be true. Let me share what the research actually says, because the science behind these concepts is absolutely fascinating and increasingly supported by peer-reviewed research. Quantum entanglement shows us that particles can instantly affect each other across vast distances, maintaining a connection that transcends space and time. If subatomic particles can influence reality through connection, imagine what your consciousness can do when properly focused and aligned. Your thoughts and emotions are quantum events, and they ripple through the field of infinite possibilities, attracting experiences that match their vibrational signature. Neuroplasticity research reveals that visualization literally rewires your brain. When you consistently imagine yourself living differently, thinking differently, feeling differently, your neural pathways begin mirroring those of someone who actually lives that way. Dr. Joe Dispenza's research shows that people who practice heart-brain coherence and elevated emotional states can literally change their gene expression, their neural networks, and their electromagnetic field. This isn't just mental training. This is physical transformation at the cellular level. The observer effect in quantum physics demonstrates that consciousness itself influences reality at the quantum level. The very act of observation collapses quantum possibilities into physical reality. Your attention and intention aren't passive, they're active forces that shape what manifests in your experience. When you focus your attention on a particular outcome with clear intention and elevated emotion, you're literally participating in the quantum creation process. Double-slit experiments have shown that particles behave differently when they're being observed versus when they're not. This suggests that consciousness plays a fundamental role in determining physical reality. If consciousness can influence the behavior of subatomic particles, then your conscious choice of which parallel self to embody could theoretically influence which quantum reality you experience. This isn't mysticism disguised as science. This is science catching up to what mystics, shamans, and spiritual teachers have known for centuries. The quantum field responds to consciousness. Reality is far more fluid and malleable than we've been taught to believe. You have far more power to influence your experience than you've ever imagined. But let's go even deeper into the practical application of these principles. How do you identify which parallel self you want to embody? How do you know if you're successfully shifting your vibrational frequency? How do you maintain alignment when your current circumstances seem to contradict your desired reality? First, you need to get crystal clear about who you want to become, not just what you want to have. Most people focus on external outcomes, the money, the relationship, the house, the career success. But your parallel selves are differentiated by their internal states, their ways of being, their vibrational signatures. The wealthy version of you doesn't just have more money. They think differently about abundance. They feel differently about their worth. They make decisions from a completely different energetic foundation. The confident version of you doesn't just act confident. They have a fundamentally different relationship with themselves and their capabilities. So instead of asking, what do I want? Start asking, who do I want to be? How does the version of you who has achieved your desires think about themselves? How do they move through the world? What beliefs do they hold? How do they respond to challenges? What does their inner dialogue sound like? How do they feel when they wake up in the morning? These are the details that create vibrational specificity. Here's a powerful technique that quantum manifestation masters use. They create what I call a parallel self profile. They write detailed descriptions of their desired parallel self, not just the external circumstances, but the complete internal and external experience. They describe their thoughts, their feelings, their daily routines, their relationships, their challenges and how they handle them, their moments of joy and celebration. The more detailed and emotionally vivid this profile becomes, the easier it is to align with that vibrational frequency. But here's where most people get stuck. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. You cannot manifest from a state of lack or desperation. If you're trying to become abundant because you feel poor, you're actually reinforcing the vibration of poverty. If you're trying to attract love because you feel lonely, you're amplifying the frequency of loneliness. The quantum field responds to your current vibrational state, not your desired future state. This means you must find a way to embody the feeling of already having what you desire, even before it manifests physically. This is what I call quantum faith, the ability to feel grateful for what hasn't yet appeared in your physical reality. It's the capacity to feel abundant before the money arrives, to feel loved before the relationship manifests, to feel successful before the external validation comes. This isn't delusion or denial, this is quantum alignment. You're choosing to vibrate at the frequency of your desired parallel self instead of the frequency of your current circumstances. Let me share a profound technique that can accelerate this process. Morning quantum attunement. Every morning before you check your phone, before you start thinking about your to-do list, before you engage with the external world, you spend time connecting with your desired parallel self. You close your eyes and step into their reality. You feel what they feel, think what they think, experience what they experience. You let their vibrational signature fill your entire being. You become them, not just in imagination, but in energetic reality. This isn't just visualization. This is quantum identity shifting. You're literally tuning your energy field to match that of your parallel self. And here's what's fascinating. The more consistently you do this, the more your external reality begins to shift to match your internal vibrational state. Opportunities start appearing. People start responding to you differently. Circumstances begin aligning in ways that seem almost magical, but are actually the natural result of quantum alignment. But what about resistance? What about the voice in your head that says this is too good to be true? Or people like me don't get to live like that? Or I don't deserve this level of success and happiness? These resistant thoughts and beliefs create vibrational static that interferes with your ability to align with your desired parallel self. They're like radio interference that distorts the signal you're trying to tune into. Here's how to work with resistance rather than against it. Acknowledge these limiting beliefs as remnants of old programming, old vibrational patterns that belong to a parallel self you're choosing to move away from. Don't fight them or try to suppress them. That only gives them more energy. Instead, thank them for trying to protect you, and then consciously choose to align with a different vibrational truth. For example, if the thought, "I'm not smart enough to be successful," arises, you might say, "Thank you for trying to protect me from disappointment. But I'm choosing to align with the parallel self who knows their intelligence is more than adequate for their success." You're not denying the old belief or fighting it. You're simply choosing a different vibrational reality. This brings us to one of the most important aspects of quantum manifestation that nobody talks about, the transition period. When you start shifting your vibrational frequency, there's often a period where your external reality hasn't caught up to your internal transformation yet. This is when most people give up, thinking the process isn't working. But this transition period is actually a sign that the quantum shift is occurring. During this time, you might experience what I call vibrational turbulence. Situations that seem to contradict your desired reality. Challenges that test your commitment to your new vibrational identity. Or old patterns that seem to intensify before they dissolve. This isn't the universe working against you. This is the old quantum reality, making its final attempts to maintain itself before the new reality fully manifests. The key during this transition period is to maintain your vibrational alignment regardless of external appearances. Keep embodying your parallel self even when circumstances seem to suggest it's not working. Keep feeling abundant even when the bills pile up. Keep feeling confident even when you face rejection. Keep feeling worthy even when others doubt you. Your unwavering commitment to your new vibrational identity is what allows the quantum shift to complete itself. Here's something else that's crucial to understand. Quantum manifestation isn't always about changing your external circumstances. Sometimes it's about shifting to a parallel reality where those same circumstances exist, but your relationship to them is completely different. Maybe the parallel self you're meant to embody finds joy and fulfillment in situations that your current self finds challenging. Maybe they have a different perspective that transforms struggle into growth, obstacles into opportunities, setbacks into setups for greater success. This is why the focus must always be on who you're being, not just what you're having. When you embody the vibrational signature of your most empowered, joyful, abundant parallel self, your entire experience of life transforms, often before any external changes occur. Let's talk about another advanced technique, quantum scripting. This involves writing detailed descriptions of your life from the perspective of your desired parallel self, but written in present tense, as if it's already your reality. You describe your typical day, your relationships, your work, your feelings, your thoughts, your experiences, all from the vibrational state of the parallel self you want to embody. But here's the crucial part. When you write these scripts, you must feel them as true. You must let yourself experience the emotions of that reality as you write. You're not writing fiction, you're connecting with a quantum reality that already exists. The more emotionally invested you become in these scripts, the more your vibrational frequency aligns with that parallel self. Some people create multiple scripts for different aspects of their desired reality, their ideal day, their perfect relationship, their dream career, their optimal health, their financial abundance. The key is to make these scripts so emotionally compelling that reading them immediately shifts your vibrational state. Now, let's address something that often confuses people: the role of action in quantum manifestation. Some people think that if they just visualize and affirm and align vibrationally, everything will magically appear without any effort on their part. But here's the truth. Inspired action is a crucial component of quantum manifestation. The difference is that this action comes from alignment rather than desperation, from joy rather than fear, from trust rather than doubt. When you're aligned with your desired parallel self, you'll feel inspired to take certain actions. These won't feel forced or difficult. They'll feel like natural expressions of who you're becoming. You might feel inspired to learn a new skill, to reach out to certain people, to pursue particular opportunities, to make specific changes in your life. This inspired action is actually part of the quantum manifestation process. It's how the universe orchestrates the physical manifestation of your new reality. The key is to distinguish between inspired action and desperate action. Inspired action feels energizing, exciting, and aligned. It comes from a place of, I get to do this, rather than I have to do this. Desperate action feels heavy, forced, and exhausting. It comes from a place of fear and lack, rather than trust and abundance. Here's another profound aspect of quantum manifestation: the ripple effect. When you shift your vibrational frequency and align with a different parallel self, it doesn't just change your personal experience. It affects everyone around you. Your family members, friends, colleagues, and even strangers you interact with begin responding to your new energetic signature. Relationships transform, opportunities emerge, and synchronicities multiply because you're literally existing in a different quantum reality. This is why personal transformation is ultimately a gift to the world. When you embody your most empowered, joyful, abundant parallel self, you give others permission to do the same. You become a living example of what's possible when someone consciously works with quantum principles to create their desired reality. But here's something even deeper. As you become more skilled at quantum manifestation, you begin to realize that you're not just shifting between parallel versions of yourself, you're actually participating in the evolution of consciousness itself. Every time you choose love over fear, abundance over scarcity, empowerment over victimhood, you're contributing to the collective shift toward higher vibrational realities. This brings us to the concept of quantum responsibility. With the power to consciously navigate parallel realities comes the responsibility to choose realities that serve not just your personal desires, but the highest good of all. The most evolved quantum manifestation practitioners understand that their personal transformation is intimately connected to the transformation of humanity as a whole. So what does this mean for your life right now, today? It means that manifesting isn't about creating something from nothing. It's about aligning with what already exists in the infinite field of possibilities. Every goal you have, every dream you're chasing, every desire that stirs your soul, there's a parallel version of you who has already achieved it. Your job isn't to figure out how it will happen through struggle and force. Your job is to become the vibrational match for the reality you desire, and let the quantum field orchestrate the perfect unfolding. Here's your quantum transformation challenge. And this is where your new reality begins. Choose one aspect of your life you're ready to shift. Maybe it's your relationship with money, your confidence in relationships, your creative expression, your physical health, or your sense of purpose. Now, instead of focusing on what you currently lack or what's wrong with your current situation, tune into the frequency of the parallel self who has already mastered this aspect of life. Spend at least 20 minutes each day embodying this parallel self. Feel their confidence, their joy, their ease, their wisdom. Think their thoughts, feel their feelings, imagine their daily experience. Make this practice so emotionally vivid that your body begins to believe it's already your reality. And then pay attention to the inspired actions that arise from this aligned state. Follow those impulses with trust and excitement. But don't just do this once or twice and expect miraculous changes overnight. Commit to this practice for at least 30 days, maintaining your vibrational alignment, regardless of what shows up in your external reality during this transition period. Watch what happens when you stop trying to force change and start aligning with the reality that's already waiting for you in the quantum field. Remember, the quantum field is responding to you right now, in this very moment. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every belief you hold is sending ripples through infinite parallel realities. The question isn't whether you can manifest your desired reality. You're already manifesting constantly. The question is, which parallel self will you consciously choose to embody? Which quantum reality will you align with? Which version of your infinite potential will you bring into physical expression? You have the power to consciously navigate between infinite versions of yourself. You have the ability to align with realities that seemed impossible just moments ago. You have access to parallel selves who have already achieved everything you desire and more. This isn't fantasy. This is your quantum birthright. This is the extraordinary potential that exists within your very being. The parallel self who is living your dream life isn't waiting for someday in the future. They exist right now, in this moment, vibrating at a frequency that you can learn to match. The quantum field that connects all possibilities isn't separate from you. You are an integral part of it, capable of consciously directing its creative power. Your transformation starts now, with your next thought, your next feeling, your next choice of which vibrational reality to embody. The universe is waiting for you to step into your quantum potential. Your parallel selves are waiting for you to recognize and align with them. Your dream reality is waiting for you to become the vibrational match for its manifestation. Who are you if you already won millions? Who are you, but not who you think you are based on your current circumstances? Not who your bank account says you are. Not who your struggles have convinced you that you are. Who are you if you already won millions? How do you stand when abundance is your natural state? How do you walk when every step is taken with the confidence of someone who knows they are financially free? What thoughts run through your mind as you wake in the morning, knowing that wealth flows endlessly to you, like a river that never runs dry? Feel into this for a moment. Don't think about it. Feel it. You see, here's the secret that will transform your entire existence. You must not wait for evidence before you believe. The evidence appears only when you first accept your wealth as real. This isn't just positive thinking. This is the fundamental law of creation itself. Wealth is not merely numbers dancing in your bank account. It's not just the accumulation of paper and coins. Wealth is a state of being, a way of existing in the world. And the moment you step into that state completely, the entire universe bends to reflect it back to you. Consider for a moment, really contemplate this, how someone who already won millions moves through life. Do they worry about whether they'll have enough? Do they doubt their ability to handle any financial situation? Do they wake up with that familiar knot of anxiety in their stomach? No, they expect, they receive. They carry themselves with an unshakable confidence, because they know, deep in their bones, that they are rich. Not because they hope to be rich. Not because they're working toward being rich. Because they are rich. It's not a goal, it's their identity. Think about the last time you heard someone talk about winning the lottery. Notice how their entire energy shifts just imagining it. Their shoulders straighten. Their voice becomes more confident. Their eyes light up with possibility. That's the energy you must carry every single day. If you wish to manifest millions, you must first feel like you've already won them. Not tomorrow when the check comes. Not next week when the opportunity appears. Not when circumstances finally align in your favor. Now, in this very moment, you must assume the feeling of one who already has everything they desire. Close your eyes and feel what it's like to be completely financially free right now. Feel the peace. Feel the confidence. Feel the joy. This is not fantasy. This is not wishful thinking. This is the exact state of being that creates your reality. When you move through your day, carry yourself with the quiet confidence of a millionaire, not with arrogance, because that's the desperate energy of someone trying to convince others of what they don't truly believe themselves. True confidence is quiet, assured, unshakable. When you look at a price tag, do not shrink in hesitation. Do not let that familiar fear grip your chest. Instead, mentally affirm with complete conviction, I can afford anything I desire. But here's what's crucial. Even if your outer world has not yet changed, Even if your bank account still shows the same numbers, your inner shift will demand a reflection. Your only task is to remain faithful to this assumption. The moment you assume the state of having 1 millions, unseen forces begin working on your behalf. Forces you cannot see, understand, or control. These forces are more powerful than any strategy, more effective than any plan, more reliable than any system. Imagine for a moment that you just received the call, the life-changing call. You've won. The money is yours. How would you feel in that moment? That rush of excitement, that overwhelming sense of relief, that deep knowing that everything has changed forever. That feeling is what you must carry with you every single day. The people you need to meet will cross your path. The opportunities that will change everything will present themselves. The events necessary for your wealth's fulfillment will be drawn to you as effortlessly as the tide is drawn to the shore. But here's the test, and this is where most people fail. You must persist even when doubt whispers its poison. Doubt will come. It will say to you, this isn't working. Look around you, nothing has changed. You're fooling yourself. People don't just win millions out of nowhere. Circumstances may seem to mock your assumption. Bills may still arrive. Challenges may still appear. The outer world may seem to scream, you're not wealthy. Look at your reality. But you must remember that the outer world is merely a delayed mirror, reflecting your past assumptions, your old beliefs, your former state of being. It's showing you who you were, not who you are becoming. Think of it this way. If you were watching a movie and didn't like what was happening on screen, would you try to change the screen, or would you change the projector? Your thoughts, your feelings, your assumptions, these are the projector. The world around you is just the screen. Keep your new assumption alive. Feed it with feeling. Strengthen it with certainty. Protect it from doubt like a mother protecting her child. And soon, sooner than you think, the evidence will appear before your very eyes. And when it does, you'll realize something profound. You are not trying to become wealthy. You are wealthy. You are not waiting to receive millions. You have millions. It is already done. Live as though it were impossible to fail. Because there is a truth so simple, yet so profound, that once you truly understand it, it will change the way you move through life forever. Your world is nothing more than a reflection of your inner state. Everything you see, everything you touch, everything you experience first began as an idea within the mind. The unseen gives birth to the seen. The intangible shapes the tangible. And what you assume to be true, whether consciously or unconsciously, becomes the foundation upon which your entire life is built. Look around you right now. Really look. The circumstances that surround you, the people in your life, the opportunities that come or elude you, the wealth or lack thereof, all are manifestations of your inner world. They are the crystallized results of thoughts you have entertained, feelings you have nurtured, and beliefs you have accepted as reality. And your emotions are not mere reactions to the world around you. They are the creative force that shapes your reality. Every moment, you are vibrating at a particular frequency, and life responds to that frequency by bringing you experiences that match it. This is why two people in identical situations can have completely different outcomes. One person radiates confidence and abundance, while the other emanates fear and lack. Their external worlds reflect their internal states. If you feel lack, you create more of it. If you feel abundance, you call abundance to you. It is that simple, and it is that profound. Your emotions do not lie. They reveal the assumptions you hold about life. When you feel anxious about money, it's because you assume money is scarce. When you feel worried about the future, it's because you assume you're not capable of handling whatever comes. But if you could shift your emotional state, if you could generate the feeling of already having 1 millions, you would see how effortlessly life rearranges itself to match your new vibration. Most people live reactively. They let the outer world dictate how they feel. If they see money in their bank account, they feel secure. If they receive good news, they feel optimistic. If an opportunity presents itself, they feel hopeful. But this is backwards. You must feel first, and then the outer world will adjust accordingly. Imagine waking up every morning feeling like you've already won millions, regardless of what your financial situation appears to be. You walk through your day with a quiet confidence, knowing that all your needs are met. You do not panic over expenses. You do not hesitate when making choices. You do not entertain thoughts of scarcity. Your emotional state is one of certainty, of ease, of absolute trust, that abundance is already yours. If you could maintain this feeling consistently, your external world would have no choice but to reflect it back to you. The key is to train yourself to feel ahead of the evidence. Do not wait for circumstances to change before you allow yourself to feel joy, success, and security. Feel them now. Act as if you have already won, and the winning will follow. One of the greatest obstacles to winning millions is the tendency to obsess over when and how it will happen. The logical mind seeks certainty, needing to know every step, every detail, every possible route from here to fulfillment. But this fixation on the how and when only creates resistance. It keeps you trapped in a state of doubt and limitation. When you try to control the process, you signal to the universe that you do not truly trust in the power of your assumption. And what you do not trust, you push away. The unseen forces that shape reality do not operate by human logic. They do not require your interference or your management. They are far more intelligent, far more capable, far more creative than your limited mind can comprehend. Consider a farmer who plants a seed in the earth. He does not sit beside it, digging it up every hour to check its progress. He does not demand to know exactly how each root will form, how each leaf will sprout, or how the rain and sun will work together to bring it to fruition. He simply trusts that, in due time, the seed will become what it was always meant to be. This is the attitude you must adopt. You have planted the seed of your desire in the soil of imagination. If you constantly question how it will grow, you disrupt the natural process. But if you leave it undisturbed, nourishing it only with faith and persistence, it must manifest. Your only task is to persist in the assumption that what you desire is already yours. Everything else is irrelevant. Think of someone who has already won millions. Do they concern themselves with how it happened? Do they anxiously try to piece together the events that led to their windfall? No, they simply enjoy it. They live in the reality of having, not questioning or doubting its presence. This is the state you must embody before the evidence arrives. You do not need to know how your millions will come. You do not need to map out the exact sequence of events that will lead you to your goal. Release the need to control. Let go of the constant questioning. Move with the quiet confidence of one who knows that their success is inevitable. If you wish to manifest millions, you must align every word you speak and every action you take with the reality of one who already possesses them. Most people speak from their current circumstances rather than from the state they wish to embody. They say things like, "I can't afford that. Money is so hard to come by," or "I'm always struggling." Every time they affirm these beliefs, they reinforce their current financial reality. The universe simply mirrors what they declare as truth. Your words carry creative power. They are declarations of what you accept as real. Instead of saying, "I can't afford it," say, "That's not a priority for me right now." Instead of saying, "I'm broke," say, "Wealth is flowing to me in ways I cannot yet see." Instead of saying, "Money is tight," say, "I am grateful for the abundance that surrounds me." You must speak as though your millions are already yours. But words alone are not enough. Your actions must reflect your new state as well. How does someone who won millions move through life? Do they hesitate over small purchases? Do they feel anxious about spending money? Do they approach opportunities with fear and doubt? No, they carry themselves with confidence. They invest in themselves without hesitation. They trust that their resources will always replenish. This does not mean reckless spending. It means adopting the mindset of financial security before the evidence arrives. It means treating money as an abundant, ever-flowing resource, rather than something scarce and fleeting. The way you carry yourself also speaks volumes. Do you walk with the posture of one who is weighed down by financial stress? Or do you move with the ease and confidence of a person who knows they've already won? Do you dress and present yourself with care? Or do you let your outer appearance reflect a belief in lack? Every detail matters, because every detail reinforces an assumption. Each day, ask yourself, would someone who won millions say this? Would they act this way? Would they hesitate in this moment? And then adjust accordingly. The greatest test of your ability to manifest millions is your persistence in the face of doubt. It is easy to believe when everything appears to be working in your favor, when signs seem to affirm that your assumption is taking shape. But what will you do when the physical world shows no evidence of change? What will you do when old fears and doubts creep in, whispering that perhaps this is not working, that maybe you are fooling yourself? This is where most people fail. Not because their desires are impossible, but because they waver in their faith before the unseen becomes seen. The moment you assume a new state of being, reality begins shifting. But because physical manifestation follows an unseen process, there is often a delay between assumption and realization. This delay is not a sign of failure. It is simply the natural unfolding of events. Most people misinterpret this period of transition as proof that their efforts are in vain. In their impatience, they return to old thoughts, old doubts, and old emotional reactions, undoing the very progress they had made. You must be different. You must persist until it is done. There can be no half-hearted attempts, no wavering back and forth between belief and disbelief. If you have chosen the state of having won millions, then that is the state you must occupy mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, no matter what appears before you. When doubts arise, as they inevitably will, do not resist them with fear. Instead, observe them with detachment, knowing they are remnants of an old state that no longer belongs to you. Let them pass through your awareness without giving them power. Affirm to yourself, this is already done. My millions are inevitable. The world is simply catching up to my assumption. Consider a sculptor who is committed to carving a masterpiece from a block of stone. He does not stop midway simply because he cannot yet see the final form. He does not abandon his work because in the beginning it looks nothing like the vision he holds in his mind. He persists, chiseling away, refining his creation until the masterpiece emerges. This is how you must treat your assumption. You must hold on to it, unwavering, until it hardens into fact. There is a profound difference between wishing to win millions and living as if you already have. Wishing implies separation. It acknowledges the absence of what you desire. It keeps you in a state of wanting, of lacking, of being without. But to embody the state of having won, to live from the end, is to collapse the gap between you and your desire. It is to step into the feeling of fulfillment now, before the evidence appears, knowing with absolute certainty that the outer world must eventually conform. Most people spend their entire lives hoping, yearning, and waiting for their millions to materialize. They don't realize that this very state of longing keeps them trapped in lack like quicksand. They wake up thinking about what they do not have. They move through the day, reinforcing the idea that they are still waiting. They go to sleep feeling as though their desires are just beyond their reach. Always tomorrow, always just out of grasp. And so the cycle continues, year after year, decade after decade. But what if you no longer wished? What if instead you assumed the role of one who already won millions? How would you think if you had already won? How would you feel as you moved through your day? How would you carry yourself in the world? Would you still dwell in doubt about your financial security? Would you still fear the future? Would you still hesitate when opportunities presented themselves? No, you would move with a quiet confidence, with an unshakable knowing that everything you desire is already yours. This is the key to become what you seek before it physically appears, not through pretense, not through arrogance, but through the deep, quiet certainty that your assumption is reality. What you hold in consciousness, whether in fear or in faith, will harden into fact. The process is always at work, whether you realize it or not. You cannot stop it any more than you can stop your heart from beating. You cannot stop imagining, for imagination is the very essence of your being. But you can become aware of how you use this incredible power. Ask yourself honestly, are you imagining worst-case scenarios? Are you constantly affirming struggle and limitation? Are you replaying past disappointments in your mind like a broken record? If so, do not be surprised when these experiences continue to repeat themselves in your reality. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are the unconscious creator of it. To change your life, you must first change your assumption of what is possible. Begin by seeing yourself as already possessing that which you desire. Do not wait for proof. The proof will come after the assumption is made. The moment you let go of doubt and fully embrace the reality you seek, it will begin to unfold before you in ways you never expected. Your life is not determined by external circumstances. It is determined by the thoughts you consistently hold, the feelings you regularly entertain, the beliefs you accept as truth. So make a decision now. Will you allow temporary appearances to dictate your belief, or will you persist in the unseen until it becomes seen? Will you waver in moments of doubt, or will you stand firm in your conviction? The choice is yours, but know this. The universe does not deny what you persist in assuming is true. If you refuse to entertain any reality other than the one you desire, if you remain unwavering in your assumption, then the world must conform. There is no other possibility. So persist. Persist through the silence. Persist through the doubts. Persist through every appearance that tries to convince you otherwise. Because the moment you refuse to turn back, the moment you make the decision that you have already won millions, it is done. Everything you seek, wealth, success, abundance, already exists within you. Your imagination is the key, shaping your reality through your assumptions. By living from the end, feeling the emotions of already having won millions, and detaching from the when and how, you align yourself with the reality you wish to experience. Your words and actions must reflect this truth, reinforcing your belief until it becomes unshakable. And above all, you must persist, refusing to waver, refusing to return to the old self, until your assumption hardens into fact. The world is simply a reflection of your inner state. When you truly embody the wealth you seek, when you walk, speak, and move with the confidence of one who already won millions, the outer world must conform. There is no other outcome. So stand firm in your belief, stay faithful to your vision, and watch as the unseen forces arrange everything in your favor. Your millions are not a dream. They are not a hope. They are not a possibility. They are a certainty. The only question that remains is how quickly will you step into it completely. Take a deep breath. Feel the truth of these words settling into your bones. Feel the certainty that your abundance is inevitable. This is your moment. This is your time. Your millions are done. Act as if you already won millions, because you have. What if I told you that everything you've been taught about success, about earning your place in this world, has been a lie designed to keep you small? You were never meant to be normal. You were never meant to crawl through life, asking for crumbs from a world that was designed to echo your voice. You were never meant to dim the light of your assumption, just to comfort those who cannot remember their own. There is something in you, something ancient, something royal, that has grown tired of shrinking, tired of waiting, tired of begging for what was already yours in the beginning. That tiredness is not weakness. It is the birth cry of your true identity. It is the I am stirring in the tomb of self-forgetting, whispering, arise and walk in your dominion. Here's what they don't want you to know. To act like you were meant to win is not arrogance. It is accuracy. It is alignment with the truth you buried beneath years of performance, trauma, and spiritual begging. You thought life was about becoming, but I tell you now, it is about remembering. Remembering that you were sent here to speak from the mountaintop, not to weep in the valley. You were meant to command with stillness, not perform with panic. The identity of the victor is not earned. It is assumed. But who taught you to lose? Who taught you that humility meant hesitation? Who taught you that asking for permission was noble, that deferring your power was spiritual? These are lies, systems of delay you were never meant to carry. You were not born to manifest from want, but to decree from fullness. And the world that now feels against you is not your enemy. It is your echo. It reflects only the tone you speak when no one else is listening. So let us be clear. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is not what you say in moments of inspiration, but what you assume in the stillness. If you believe you were made to win, the world cannot help but organize around that belief. But if you carry the tone of the one trying to win, hoping to win, needing to win, the victory will remain a stranger to your house, because you are not inviting it. You are postponing it. There is a great reversal at the heart of spiritual law. You do not win and then feel like a winner. You feel like a winner and then the outer bows in recognition. This is the only law you cannot bypass. You cannot cheat it with effort, with noise, with desperation. The feeling is the secret, and the feeling of the one who was meant to win is quiet, complete, unshaken by delay or denial. That feeling is your only task. That state is your only responsibility. From it, all things flow. So today I speak to the one who remembers, the one beneath your name, the one behind your face, the one who has always known there was more. I do not ask you to try harder. I ask you to rise. Rise into the assumption of your divine inheritance. Rise into the knowing that no one can give you what you have not already received within. Rise into the state of the man who does not wait for evidence. He is the evidence. Act like you were meant to win, because you were, because you are, because you cannot lose unless you continue to argue for the mask you were never born to wear. You've betrayed yourself more times than you care to count. Not through violence, not through vice, but through vibration, through the subtle posture of defeat you carry in the silence. You say you believe, but your tone reveals an orphan soul still waiting for permission to rise. You say I am with your lips, and yet your breath holds the tension of one who doubts his own authority. You walk into rooms with your head bowed low, asking the world to reflect what only you were meant to command. And when it does not, you call it rejection. But it is not rejection. It is feedback. The law is always listening. You prayed like a beggar while being the author. You whispered affirmations while rehearsing doubt. You hoped life would choose you while refusing to act like you'd already been chosen. That is not spiritual discipline. It is spiritual delay. You call it humility, but it is hesitation. You call it caution, but it is contradiction. You have clothed yourself in the garments of the loser while claiming to know the law, and that split has cost you everything. You look at your past and call it truth. You look at your failures and call them prophecies. But I tell you, the only thing they ever revealed was the state you dwelled in at the time. They do not speak of who you are. They speak only of who you were being. And who you were being was a man rehearsing loss, expecting delay, negotiating with heaven as if you were its servant instead of its image. The problem is not the world. The problem is that you've mistaken memory for identity. You've mistaken your track record for your name. But the past is not a prophecy unless you agree with it. The law does not remember. The law does not punish. It only reflects. And so long as you continue to identify as the one who must try harder, heal more, or earn it, you will remain locked in the posture of postponement forever, training for a war that is already over. You have been practicing defeat in your inner speech, saying you trust while scanning the horizon for validation, asking for signs because you don't yet believe your own word. This is the fracture. This is the error. You are still living like a man on the outside of his own kingdom, waiting for a gate that only opens from within. And every time you speak of lack, even casually, you tie yourself once more to the identity you say you're leaving behind. You must see it now. You've been waiting for circumstances to call you a winner, so you could finally believe it. But belief does not follow evidence. It precedes it. You act as if not because you're deluded, but because the feeling is causative. You step into the state before the mirror changes, or the mirror has no choice but to reflect the old you. Do you not see? You are not reacting to reality. You are rehearsing it. You have been faithful, but not to the truth. You have been faithful to your unworthiness, to your delays, to your justifications. You have mastered the art of partial embodiment, speaking like a king, but moving like a beggar, declaring the law but checking your outer reality for proof. And the law, being just, responds not to your words, but to your tone. And your tone has said, I am not yet, I am not enough, I am still waiting. But today you are exposed. And exposure is not condemnation, it is initiation. Now that you see the contradiction, you must choose. Will you continue speaking truth while living lie? Will you continue trying to manifest through effort instead of assumption? Will you keep asking the world to approve what your soul already knows? Or will you rise? Will you now walk, talk, breathe, and remain as one who was meant to win? Because until you do, no law, no teacher, no technique can save you from the identity you refuse to lay down. There is no power outside of your assumption. Let this truth pierce through every false altar you've ever built. You were told that life is earned, that favor must be proven, that results require approval from something greater than you. But I tell you now, you are the greater. You are the point of origin. You are the operant power. The feeling that you dare to accept as already true, even in the face of its complete physical absence, is the womb from which your world is born. Not someday, not when the signs agree. Now, always now. Victory is not achieved. It is remembered. To act like you were meant to win is to remember that you already have. Every outcome you desire, every condition you seek to alter, every door you hope to walk through already exists in the eternal present. The only variable is your state of being, your frequency, the inner tone you carry in silence. That is the gatekeeper. That is the architect of all outcomes. This is the divine pattern hidden within Scripture. He calleth things that are not seen as though they were, not because he is playing make-believe, but because he knows the invisible is more real than the visible. He does not ask the outer world for confirmation. He declares it from within and lets the outer rearrange. You were taught to believe when you see. I tell you, you will see when you believe, and not 1 second soon. Assumption is not performance. It is not enthusiasm. It is inner congruence, the complete alignment of identity, inner speech, and expectation around one sacred fact. It is already so. That alignment is what produces the echo. That is the divine pattern. And until that alignment is held, not visited, but held, the outer must remain in disarray. To live like you were meant to win is not about arrogance. It is about authority. The same authority that stilled storms, multiplied loaves, raised Lazarus. These were not miracles. They were demonstrations of law, of inner dominion over outer reflection. Every man who walked in spiritual power first walked in assumption. He was the thing before it arrived. He acted from the end, not toward it. That is the reversal you must now accept. You have imagined winning as the reward. It is not. It is the starting point. Every desire in your heart is a divine memory. It is the echo of something you've already claimed in higher realms. And the only delay in its appearance is the contradiction you carry between knowing and being. You affirm abundance but assume lack. You declare love but embody rejection. You speak freedom but still wear the chains of fear. And the law, being impersonal, being faithful, returns only what you are, not what you claim. There is no one to change but self. Not the people around you, not your circumstances, not even your behavior, only your state. The law of consciousness is not moved by toil, but by tone. You want to win? Then become the winner now, in breath, in posture, in thought, and let the world catch up to what you've dared to accept as law. Stop negotiating with conditions. Stop reasoning with time. Time is not your master. It is your servant. It obeys the inner decree. If you say it must take 6 months, then it must. If you say, I'm not ready yet, then you will never be. But if you say, I am now who I choose to be, and you hold that assumption in the furnace of feeling, without panic, without wavering, then nothing can stop its externalization. The law is mechanical, but your assumption is sovereign. To act like you were meant to win is to assume the position of the already crowned, not because the world approves, but because your soul remembers. The crown has always been yours. The robe has always hung within reach. But you keep dressing in the garments of delay. You keep speaking as the one waiting, even while you affirm the promise. No more. From this moment, you must become intolerant of the contradiction. Assume the end and dwell there. Walk from it. Speak from it. Imagine only from it. And if the old voice returns, you do not argue. You return quietly, calmly, completely to the state of the winner, the one who no longer chases outcomes, the one who commands them in silence, because that is the only way anything real has ever been created. Now we descend into the furnace of practice, not a practice of striving, but of stillness, not a performance for the world, but a sacred vow kept within. For the one who was meant to win does not beg the mirror to change. He becomes the reflection he desires and lets the mirror obey. If you will do what I now say, not once, not when convenient, but daily, steadily, as one who knows this is the path home, then you will see what others call impossible bend before you without force. Each morning, before the day lays its hand upon you, before memory and personality wrap themselves around you like garments, enter the silence, not to ask, not to plead, but to assume. Sit in the throne of your being and declare inwardly, I am the one who was meant to win, not with noise, not with theatrics, but with complete inner alignment. Feel the truth of that sentence, not as something you hope for, but as something you remember. Let your breath carry the ease of one who has nothing to prove. That breath is the banner of the new state. Stand before your own reflection, not to be admired, but to be remembered. Look into your own eyes and say within, this is the face of the man who commands his world. This is the expression of the one for whom all things move into place. Then go out and move through the day as that one. You do not need to convince others. You do not need to explain your faith. The tone will do all the work. That inner command, silently spoken, will go before you and rearrange the field. Become exquisitely aware of your inner speech. The inner talk you indulge, when no one is watching, is the most creative thing you do all day. If your inner conversations still sound like desperation, explanation, justification, you are rehearsing defeat. Replace them not with empty slogans, but with language befitting a victor. Hear yourself being congratulated. Imagine others recognizing the shift in your presence, but do not fantasize as a future. Speak inwardly as if it is already happening. This is the reversal you must master. The winner is not crowned at the end. The crown is assumed at the beginning. You enter every room as if you've already been affirmed by heaven, not to impress, but to express the state, the vibration, the tone of the fulfilled man. Others will feel it. They may not understand it, but they will respond. Identify now the rituals of the loser, the ways in which you unconsciously announce delay to the world. Hesitation, apology, over-explaining, needing feedback. These are the leaky behaviors of someone unsure of his right to win. Cut them, not with shame, but with clarity. Every act, every word, every breath must now rise from the assumption of victory. You must treat your tone like it is holy, because it is. It is the only thing that creates. When the world resists you, and it will, it is not a sign that the law is failing. It is a test of your frequency. Will you react? Will you doubt? Or will you return inward and hold the state? That is the entire curriculum of the winner. Holding the end while the middle screams, remaining still while the storm performs. Do not break the posture. Do not abandon the tone. The law is faithful. If you remain, it must conform. Each night before sleep, enter once more the state of victory. Hear the praise. Feel the completion. Dwell in the inner scene where your world has already caught up to who you chose to be. This is not delusion. It is dominion. You are rehearsing the end, not as fantasy, but as fact. Sleep in that vibration. Let your subconscious receive that tone, and it will do the work. This is your life now, walking as one who has already won. No matter the outer picture, no matter the delay, no matter the appearance, You act like the one who was meant to win because that is who you are. And every moment you hold that identity, the world is being silently bent into shape. You are not chasing, you are being. And being is the seed of every miracle. So when the doubt comes, and it will, you do not explain. You do not confess. You return. Return to the tone. Return to the breath. Return to the sentence. I am the one who was meant to win. And you walk on. You have moved through life as though your success were still under negotiation, your worth still pending a verdict. But I tell you, there is no jury. There is no trial. There is only the word. And the word was always in your mouth. I am. That is the final and only law. This is your rebirth, and it will not announce itself with thunder. It will arrive as stillness, a certainty that needs no signature, a breath that no longer rushes, a posture that no longer bends to be accepted. You will speak less, you will smile more, you will move as if life has already cleared the path before you, because it has, because you cleared it the moment you assumed the one who was meant to win. So stand now, not in defiance, but in memory of the throne you once left and the crown you now reclaim. You are the one reality follows. If this stirred something inside you, it was meant for you, not by accident, not by chance, but by alignment. The words were not information, they were confirmation. That quiet thrum beneath your ribs, that breath you didn't realize you were holding, that stillness where the mind finally went silent, that was the signal. The veil just lifted, and now you must choose what to do with what you remember.
My dear friend, you're thinking too small. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your goals are. I don't care how ambitious you think you're being. You are thinking too small. And that small thinking, that careful, realistic, socially acceptable level of ambition, is the very thing that's keeping you trapped. Let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. The size of your thinking determines the size of your results. Not your effort, not your talent, not your circumstances, your thinking. And right now, in this very moment, you are operating at a fraction of your actual capacity. Because you've been conditioned to think small. You've been taught to be realistic. You've been told to stay in your lane. You've been trained to set achievable goals. And in doing so, you've murdered your potential before it ever had a chance to breathe. Tonight I want to speak to you about something that most students of this law never grasp, the principle of exponential assumption. Or as I'll call it tonight, thinking 10 times bigger than you've ever dared to think before. Here's what happens when you think small. You assume a desire that feels comfortable. Something that stretches you just a little bit, but not so much that it frightens you. You say to yourself, I will make an extra $1,000 this month. I will improve my circumstances slightly. I will have a little bit more. And you know what? You might actually manifest it. You'll achieve that small assumption. You'll feel a momentary sense of accomplishment. And then what? You'll assume another small thing, and another, and another. And 10 years from now, you'll look back and realize you spent an entire decade making tiny assumptions when you could have been claiming entire kingdoms. Small assumptions do not inspire you. They do not pull the creative power from the depths of your being. They do not make you willing to persist, to dwell faithfully, to live from an end that seems impossible. Small assumptions are safe, and safety is the graveyard of greatness. But 10 times bigger thinking, 10 times bigger assuming. That's different. When you assume 10 times bigger, you don't just change what you're claiming. You change your entire concept of self. You change who you know yourself to be, how you move through the world, how you make decisions, what you're willing to accept as true. Because a 10 times bigger assumption doesn't allow you to remain who you are. It demands that you become someone completely different. Let me give you a truth that most students never understand. A 10 times bigger assumption is not 10 times harder to claim than a normal assumption. In fact, in many ways, it's easier. Here's why. When you make a small assumption, like I will have 10% more money, you're assuming in the same crowded consciousness as everyone else. You're using the same mental patterns. You're dwelling in the same limited states. You're competing in the realm of scarcity. But when you make a 10 times bigger assumption, like I am the kind of person who commands 10 times more wealth, you can't use the same mental patterns. The old consciousness doesn't work. The conventional dwelling won't get you there. So you're forced to think from an entirely different state. You're forced to claim an identity so bold that your current self-concept cannot contain it. You're forced to find a consciousness that others aren't even looking for. And in that space, in that realm of exponential assumption, there's almost no resistance. Because 99% of people won't even attempt it. They'll look at a 10 times bigger assumption and say, that's impossible. That's not for me. That's unrealistic. And then they'll go back to their small, safe, crowded assumptions. But the 1% who dare to assume 10 times bigger, they're operating in a completely different dimension of consciousness. They're not competing with anyone. They're creating from a state most never touch. Look at anyone in scripture or history who achieved something extraordinary. And you'll find someone who assumed 10 times bigger than everyone around them. Abraham didn't assume he'd have one child. God told him his descendants would be as numerous as the stars in the sky. An impossible assumption. But Abraham believed God. He assumed it was already done, and it was accounted to him as righteousness. Moses didn't assume he'd free a few slaves. He assumed an entire nation would walk out of bondage through a parted sea. People thought he was mad, but he assumed from the end of it being finished and the Red Sea opened. David didn't assume he'd win a fair fight with Goliath. He assumed he'd kill a giant with a stone, while the armies of Israel watched. Everyone told him he was too small, too young, too weak. But he assumed the victory before the battle, and Goliath fell. Solomon didn't assume he'd build a modest temple. He assumed he'd build a temple so magnificent that the entire world would come to see the glory of God within it. And he did. Do you see the pattern? Every person who left a mark on consciousness started by assuming at a level that made other people uncomfortable. They didn't ask what's realistic. They asked, what does God, my own wonderful human imagination, have the power to do? And that question changed everything. Here's what happens in your consciousness when you start assuming 10 times bigger. First, you feel resistance. Massive, overwhelming resistance. Because a bigger assumption exposes the gap between who you're currently assuming yourself to be and who you must become to sustain this new assumption. It shows you that your current mental diet won't support it. Your current self-concept won't contain it. Your current dwelling won't maintain it. And that's frightening. But here's the beautiful part. That resistance is proof you're claiming something worthy of you. Because small assumptions don't challenge you. They don't demand a shift in consciousness. They don't require you to die to your old concept of self and be reborn into a new one. But a 10 times bigger assumption, it demands complete transformation. It says you cannot manifest this as the person you're currently assuming yourself to be. You must become someone else entirely in consciousness. And when you accept that, when you embrace that necessity for complete transformation, something extraordinary happens. You stop trying to improve your old self-concept and start claiming an entirely new one. You stop asking, how can I get a little better? And start asking, who am I in consciousness if this desire is already fulfilled? That's the shift. That's the moment everything changes. When you assume 10 times bigger, the effects ripple through every area of your life. Your daily mental diet changes. You stop feeding your mind thoughts that don't support your assumption. You stop dwelling in states of lack or limitation. You stop engaging in inner conversations that contradict what you're claiming, because you can't afford to. The gap between who you were and who you're assuming yourself to be is too vast to waste a single thought. Your inner circle changes. You stop surrounding yourself with people who think from lack. You stop seeking approval from those who dwell in limitation. You start gravitating toward those who think from the end, who assume boldly, who see fulfillment instead of obstacles. Your standard of acceptance changes. You stop accepting mediocre assumptions. You stop settling for good enough in consciousness. You stop making excuses for why you can't assume bigger. Because when you're claiming a 10 times bigger identity, average consciousness is not an option. Average won't maintain your assumption. Your entire energy changes. You wake up different. You move through the world different. You speak different. Because you're not just assuming a desire anymore, you're inhabiting a completely new state of consciousness. You're being someone who matters in consciousness. And that energy, the 10 times bigger consciousness, is magnetic. It attracts corresponding events. It attracts resources. It attracts people who recognize that you're dwelling in a state they want to touch. Now let me tell you something that nobody wants to hear. Most people will never assume 10 times bigger. Not because they can't, but because they won't. Because assuming 10 times bigger requires you to be comfortable with the unknown. It requires you to appear foolish to those who think small. It requires you to dwell in a state so far from your current circumstances that everyone will question your sanity. Most people would rather assume a small desire and feel safe than claim a massive identity and risk looking delusional. They would rather be realistic and respected than bold and ridiculed. They would rather blend into the consciousness of the masses than stand alone in a state of greatness. And that's fine. That's their choice. But if you're still listening, if something in you is stirring, if there's a part of you that knows you were meant to assume more, to claim more, to be more in consciousness, then you're not most people. You're someone who's ready to step into exponential assumption. So here's what you're going to do right now. Tonight, you're going to take whatever desire you've been assuming and multiply it by 10. If you wanted an extra $10,000 this year, your new assumption is 100,000. If you wanted to improve your body slightly, your new assumption is complete transformation. If you wanted a small change in your circumstances, your new assumption is total revolution. I don't care if it seems impossible. In fact, it should seem impossible. Because if your assumption doesn't challenge your current self-concept, it's not big enough to transform you. Write it down. Make it specific. Make it so audacious that you feel uncomfortable, even claiming it in consciousness. And then ask yourself this question. Not how do I do this, but rather who am I in consciousness if this is already mine? Not how, who. Because the person you're currently assuming yourself to be cannot manifest a 10 times bigger desire. The mental habits you have won't maintain it. The consciousness you currently dwell in won't contain it. The self-concept you've built won't support it. So you need to assume a completely new identity. You need to think from a different state entirely, not trying to get there, but assuming you're already there, not hoping to become that person, but claiming you already are that person. Here's where the real power enters. When you commit to a 10 times bigger assumption, when you write it down, when you read it every single day, when you feel it as already true, when you speak from the consciousness of already being it, your subconscious mind begins to accept it as present reality, not future reality, present reality. And when your deeper mind believes something is real now, it goes to work manifesting the corresponding conditions. It begins to notice opportunities you would have missed before. It begins creating connections you wouldn't have made. It begins solving problems in ways you couldn't have conceived. Why? Because your subconscious mind, your father, the creative power within you, doesn't know the difference between what you vividly assume and what you physically experience. So if you impress it with a 10 times bigger vision, if you dwell in that state with clarity, with feeling, with persistence, it will begin to manifest that vision in your outer world. This is not mystical thinking. This is law. This is how consciousness operates. But this only works if you assume big enough. A small assumption doesn't impress the subconscious with enough power. It doesn't create enough of a shift. It doesn't demand enough transformation. But a 10 times bigger assumption, it hijacks your entire consciousness and points it in one direction, the direction of your boldly claimed identity. So from this moment forward, you are not someone who assumes small. You are not someone who plays it safe in consciousness. You are not someone who claims only what seems realistic. You are someone who assumes 10 times bigger than you ever have before. You are someone who makes others uncomfortable with your bold assumptions. You are someone who dwells in states that others call impossible. Let me leave you with this. You have one life, one opportunity to discover what consciousness can do through you, one chance to see what you're truly capable of assuming into being. And you can spend it making small assumptions, claiming safe identities, staying comfortable in consciousness. Or you can assume 10 times bigger and discover what you're actually made of. The world doesn't need another person who thinks small. The world needs people who dare to assume impossibly big. People who claim identities that make others say that's insane. People who refuse to accept the limitations of their current self-concept. People who build empires in consciousness before a single brick is laid in the physical. People who create movements in imagination before anyone else even knows what's happening. People who transform entire realities instead of just tweaking their current circumstances. That person can be you. That person is you if you choose to assume it. So choose it now. Take your desire, multiply it by 10, write it down, and then do something that separates you from everyone else. Assume it's already yours in consciousness. Dwell in the state of already being that person. Live from the end of it being finished. Because when you assume 10 times bigger, when you truly commit to that level of consciousness, when you persist in that bold claim despite all evidence to the contrary, the outer world has no choice but to conform. Doors open, people appear, resources materialize, not because you got lucky, but because you assumed big enough to deserve them. Not because circumstances changed, but because you changed in consciousness. Not because the world gave you permission, but because you claimed your desire as already done. Tonight before you sleep, you're going to assume your 10 times bigger identity for the first time. Close your eyes. Forget your current circumstances entirely. Forget what seems possible based on where you are now. And assume, with complete conviction, that you already are the person who has this 10 times bigger desire. Feel it. Not the desire, but the identity. Not what you want, but who you are. If your desire is 10 times more wealth, feel yourself to be the kind of person who naturally commands that wealth. Not hoping for it, not working toward it, being it. If your desire is complete transformation, feel yourself to be already transformed. Not becoming, already. Dwell in that state as you fall asleep. Let that be the last impression on your subconscious mind. That bold, 10 times bigger assumption of who you are. And tomorrow when you wake as that person. Think from that state. Speak from that consciousness. Move through the world from that identity. Not trying to get there, already there. Not hoping to become, already being. This is the secret of exponential assumption. This is the power of thinking 10 times bigger. This is how you collapse years of small progress into moments of transformation. Your 10 times bigger life is not waiting somewhere in the future. It exists right now in consciousness. It's a state you can assume this very moment. But it won't come to you as the person you currently think yourself to be. You have to die to your small self-concept and be reborn into your 10 times bigger identity. You have to stop assuming from where you are and start assuming from where you desire to be. You have to think not 10% bigger, but 10 times bigger. And when you do, when you truly commit to that level of assumption, when you persist in that bold claim, when you refuse to let your current circumstances dictate your consciousness, everything changes. Not gradually, not eventually, instantly in consciousness, and then inevitably in manifestation. So go now. Your 10 times bigger identity is waiting. But you must claim it. You must assume it. You must become it in consciousness first. Think 10 times bigger, starting tonight. The size of your assumption determines the size of your manifestation. Stop claiming small identities and safe desires. Assume 10 times bigger than you ever have before. Not in the future, but in consciousness right now. Be the person who already has it. Your 10 times bigger life begins the moment you dare to assume it. Thank you and good evening. As always, thank you for being here. This is Best of Lectures, and I will see you in the next video. Money is energy in motion, an extension of the universe's very creative essence. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to attract wealth effortlessly while others constantly struggle? The secret lies in something beyond physical effort: vibrational frequency. When you understand that money is a projection of your mental and vibrational state, a world of possibilities opens up. Imagine being able to align yourself with this abundance energy and completely transform your financial reality. In this video, we'll explore how changing your relationship with money can unlock unexpected levels of prosperity, ready to discover the hidden power that attracts money. Our perception of scarcity is programmed. Money, like all matter, is vibrational energy, manipulable by those who understand the universal laws. However, these laws have been deliberately hidden by forces interested in keeping the masses trapped in cycles of lack. Our relationship with money is a mental prison, maintained by limiting beliefs and the vibrational manipulation of our consciousness. Money is not just a tool for exchange. It is a vibrational force that obeys universal laws most people are unaware of. The world around us is shaped by an invisible energy web, and money plays a central role in this system. Scarcity is not a natural condition, but an illusion, carefully imposed by systems that want to control how we perceive and experience abundance. The true key to attracting wealth lies in understanding that money is pure energy, and this energy responds directly to our vibrational frequency. When we think of money as something distant or unattainable, we create an energetic barrier that reinforces scarcity. This barrier is built by beliefs implanted early on, making us believe that money is hard to achieve or reserved for a privileged few. To break this cycle, you need to become the money itself. It's not about possessing it physically, but aligning your mind and emotions with the frequency of abundance. This requires abandoning thought patterns that keep you stuck in scarcity and starting to act and feel like someone who already lives in a state of financial abundance. The most powerful conspiracy against your prosperity is the idea of separation, the belief that you and money are distinct entities. This illusion is reinforced by systems that profit from your lack. But the truth is that you already have everything you need to attract wealth. The creative energy that moves the universe is within you, waiting to be awakened and directed. When you change your frequency, the universe has no choice but to reorganize itself to reflect your new reality. Transforming your relationship with money requires a profound reprogramming of the mind and personal vibration. The technique is based on reshaping reality through consciousness, dismantling imposed beliefs, and aligning with the energetic frequency of abundance. Here's how to do it. Recognize money as energy. Imagine money as a constantly flowing river. When you think of it as something limited or distant, it's like placing a barrier in that river, preventing it from reaching you. For example, instead of saying, "I never have enough money," replace it with, "Money is continuously flowing to me." Practice this change in small daily situations. When you make a payment, instead of thinking about the money leaving, visualize the energy cycle returning multiplied. Money responds to how you interact with it. Identify and destroy limiting beliefs. Take a notebook and write down all the phrases you've heard about money, especially the negative ones. Examples: money doesn't bring happiness. Rich people are greedy. Now for each phrase, write a new perspective. For instance, money doesn't bring happiness can transform into money, amplifies my happiness by providing freedom and security. Then read these new affirmations out loud every day. Additionally, think of real examples, billionaire philanthropists who use their wealth to impact the world. These stories help dismantle the negative view. Align your emotions with abundance. This technique is practical. Every day upon waking, dedicate 5 minutes to close your eyes and feel what your life would be like with abundant money. Imagine getting into your dream car, hearing the sound of the door closing and the engine starting. Visualize accessing your bank account and seeing high balances. The trick here is not just to visualize, but to feel gratitude and certainty that it's already real. The more vivid the emotion, the more powerful the attraction. Practice and deepen your visualization by using tools like a vision board. Gather images of things you want to attract: a house, vacations, a full bank account, and place them somewhere visible. Combine this with empowering phrases like, "I naturally attract prosperity." Another tip is to create mental routines. For example, before bed, visualize a perfect day as someone who is financially free. The more you repeat it, the more it becomes ingrained in your subconscious. Replace fear with confidence. Whenever you feel fear related to money, ask yourself, what's the worst case scenario? Often fear stems from unrealistic projections. Now reinforce it with action. Instead of worrying about bills, focus on how you can create value. For example, in a financial crunch, think about how your skills or talents can generate income. A person confident in the flow of money always finds opportunities, while fear paralyzes. Act as if you already have what you desire. This point is crucial. People with an abundance mindset invest in themselves. For instance, even if you're starting with little, invest part of what you earn in knowledge or tools that can increase your income. If you have a business, invest in marketing or improving your products. The more money you attract, the more committed you become to growing your business or personal life. Make lists of how to use the money you want to attract as if you already have it. The key is to think like someone prosperous. Wealthy people don't spend impulsively, but allocate their resources strategically. Let go of obsessive need. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care about money, but that you trust its flow. For example, if you feel anxious about spending, turn that moment into a gratitude ritual. I'm grateful to be able to pay for this and open space for more abundance. Additionally, avoid scarcity thoughts, like saving money out of fear. Instead, see money as a living resource that should circulate and return to you. Elevate your vibration. Money is attracted to high vibration. Ensure your daily routine includes moments to elevate your energy. This can be done through meditation, inspiring music, or even exercises that release dopamine. Now that you understand that money is energy shaped by your internal state, it's time to act. What separates those who live in abundance from those who are stuck in scarcity isn't talent or luck, but the willingness to take the first step to transform your vibration. Imagine what your life would be like if you truly believed you could attract everything you desire. Think of all the possibilities available to you now, just waiting for you to decide to change your mindset. No matter where you are today, what matters is to start. Start small, but start consistently. Align your thoughts, visualize your ideal life, and above all, take actions that reflect this new reality. Remember, no one else will do this for you. The universe responds to the energy of those who are willing to commit to themselves. Practicing these techniques may seem challenging at first, but that's how great changes begin. Transformation requires courage, and that courage is within you. By changing your vibration and actions, you begin to attract opportunities and paths that once seemed impossible. Don't underestimate the power of small daily steps. They are the bridge to the abundance you desire and deserve. Now that you know abundance begins within you, it's time to act. Don't wait for things to change on their own. Start today, applying the techniques you've learned here. Spend a few minutes each day aligning your vibration, visualizing your ideal life, and making decisions that reflect the abundance you want to attract. Abundance starts in the mind, grows in the heart, and manifests in reality. Everything you need to transform your relationship with money is already within you. It's not just about attracting wealth, but becoming the type of person who naturally lives in harmony with the energy of money. By changing your vibration and acting like someone who already lives in abundance, you connect with the natural flow of prosperity. Remember that money is merely a reflection of your internal state. It will come to those who respect it, understand its energy, and are willing to take action. Now look at the world with new eyes. Everything you desire is already available, waiting for you to reach out and grab it. Trust yourself, invest in your potential, and stay focused on your transformation. This is the moment to act. Abundance is just a step away from becoming your reality. If you need more content, insights, or techniques, you know where to find them. This is the beginning of your journey to a life of prosperity. Believe it and make it happen. If this content made sense to you, don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Help others see that they too have the power to transform their financial reality. And remember, this is just the beginning. Subscribe to the channel to continue receiving content like this, which will help you grow, evolve, and achieve the life you deserve.
Good evening, my friends. Tonight I want to speak to you about a principle that will revolutionize how you approach wealth, abundance, and prosperity. A principle so simple, so profound, yet so completely misunderstood that most people spend their entire lives chasing money without ever becoming rich. Here it is. You must be rich before the money comes, not after. Not once you finally get the money, before. You must be rich in consciousness before you can ever be rich in manifestation. You must feel wealthy before your bank account reflects wealth. You must assume abundance before abundance assumes form. This goes against everything you've been taught. You've been told that first you work hard, then you make money, and finally only then do you get to feel rich. But that is backwards. That is the thinking of those who live in the world of effects, who believe that circumstances create consciousness, who think that having creates being. I am here to tell you being creates having, consciousness creates circumstance. What you are in your inner world must appear in your outer world. And if you are not rich in consciousness, you will never be rich in manifestation, no matter how much money passes through your hands. Let me show you something that most never understand. There is a profound difference between having money and being rich. I have known many people with substantial bank accounts who were poor. Their consciousness was poverty. Their inner conversations were lack. Their feeling about themselves was limitation. They had money, yes, but they were not rich. They were poor people who happened to temporarily possess wealth. And I have known people with empty pockets who were rich. Their consciousness was abundance. Their inner world was overflow. Their feeling about themselves was prosperity. They had no money, but they were rich. They were wealthy people who hadn't yet seen their inner riches reflected in the outer world. And here's what's crucial. The person who is rich in consciousness without money will inevitably attract money, because the outer must conform to the inner. The world must reflect consciousness. But the person who has money without wealth consciousness will inevitably lose it, because money that doesn't match your consciousness cannot stay with you. This is why lottery winners lose their fortunes. This is why people who inherit wealth often squander it. This is why those who make money through luck or chance rarely keep it. They had money, but they were not rich. And the money left because it had no consciousness to anchor it. Now, what do I mean by wealth consciousness? What does it mean to be rich before money? It does not mean pretending you have money when you don't. It does not mean acting wealthy externally while feeling poor internally. It does not mean spending money you don't have to create an illusion of prosperity. Wealth consciousness is a state of being. It is how you feel about yourself in relation to the world. It is your inner conviction about provision, about worthiness, about flow. Let me describe this consciousness to you, so you recognize it when you touch it. A person with wealth consciousness feels provided for, not because their bank account is full, but because they know deep in their being that they are always taken care of. They expect the universe to provide. They assume that whatever they need will come, not as a hope, but as a knowing. A person with wealth consciousness feels worthy. They don't question whether they deserve good things. They don't sabotage blessings with guilt. They don't diminish themselves to make others comfortable. They simply know they are worthy of abundance, and they accept it naturally. The person with wealth consciousness feels free. Money is not a prison. Lack is not a dictator. They make decisions from desire, not from desperation. They choose based on what they want, not what they can afford. Even when their current circumstances are limited, their consciousness is expansive. A person with wealth consciousness feels abundant. They notice what they have, not what they lack. They see overflow, not scarcity. They experience richness in their relationships, their experiences, their inner life, regardless of their bank balance. This is the consciousness that creates wealth, not the consciousness that waits for wealth to create it. Here's the mistake most people make. They believe they'll feel wealthy once they have money. When I have $10,000 in the bank, then I'll feel secure. When I make 6 figures, then I'll feel abundant.
When I'm debt-free, then I'll feel free. But this is impossible, because feeling is what creates, not what results from creation. You cannot feel secure once you have money. You must feel secure first. And then money comes to confirm your security. You cannot feel abundant once you make more. You must feel abundant now. And then more flows to match your abundance. You cannot feel free once you're debt-free. You must feel free in consciousness, and then your circumstances will reflect that freedom. The feeling must come first, always. Without exception, this is law. Scripture tells us, believe that you have received, and you will receive. Not receive, and then you'll believe. The belief, the feeling, the consciousness must come before the manifestation. Let me show you the consciousness of poverty so you can recognize when you're dwelling in it. A poor person, and I don't mean someone without money, I mean someone with poverty consciousness, thinks about money constantly. They obsess over it. They check their balance compulsively. They calculate every expense. They worry about it day and night. Why? Because they don't have it in consciousness. They're not rich internally, so they desperately try to create richness externally. A poor person feels restricted by money. Every decision is filtered through, can I afford this? Every desire is followed by, but that costs too much. They live in a cage built by numbers in a bank account. A poor person hoards. They grip tightly to every dollar. They're afraid to spend, afraid to give, afraid to circulate. Because in their consciousness there is not enough. There will never be enough. They must hold on to what little they have. A poor person resents others' wealth. They see someone prosperous and feel diminished. They think that should be me, or they don't deserve that, or must be nice to have money. They make wealth wrong, abundance suspicious, prosperity something to envy rather than embody. A poor person believes money is hard to get. They assume you must struggle, sacrifice, suffer to earn. That wealth requires exhausting effort. That abundance comes only to the lucky few. This is poverty consciousness. And you can have this consciousness while sitting on $1 million. Because consciousness is not determined by your circumstances. Consciousness determines your circumstances. Now let me show you the consciousness of wealth. A rich person, someone who is rich in consciousness, whether or not money has manifested yet, thinks about money rarely. Not because they're irresponsible, but because they're not worried. Money is handled, dealt with, managed, but not obsessed over. It doesn't dominate their thoughts. Why? Because they have it in consciousness. They feel wealthy internally, so they don't need to constantly monitor external conditions. A rich person feels free with money. They make decisions based on desire, alignment, what feels right, not based solely on cost. Even when their current resources are limited, they think from abundance, not from lack. A rich person circulates. They give generously. They spend freely. They tip well. They share abundantly. Not recklessly, but from an inner knowing that what flows out will flow back in multiplied. They understand that circulation creates increase. A rich person celebrates others' wealth. They see someone prosperous and feel inspired. They think if they can have that, so can I. Or their abundance proves abundance is available. Or I'm happy for them. They make wealth good, abundance natural, prosperity something to assume, rather than envy. A rich person believes money is natural to receive. They don't struggle for it. They expect it. They assume it flows to them easily. They know that their consciousness of wealth attracts wealth effortlessly. This is wealth consciousness. And you can have this consciousness while your bank account is empty. Because consciousness creates reality. What you are within determines what appears without. So how do you cultivate wealth consciousness? How do you become rich before money? Not through pretending. Not through affirmations you don't believe. Not through acting wealthy when you feel poor, but through a shift in your inner world, a transformation of how you see yourself, how you relate to the world, how you move through your days. Let me give you specific practices. First, change your inner conversations about money. Most people have a continuous internal dialogue of lack. I can't afford that. I don't have enough. Money's so tight. I'm always broke. I wish I had more. Every one of these thoughts is an impression on your subconscious mind. Every one of these statements is an assumption that hardens into fact. You are creating poverty with your words, even if no one else hears them. Starting today, you must revise your inner speech. You must speak to yourself as a wealthy person speaks to themselves. Not I don't have enough, but I have everything I need and more is flowing to me. Not money so tight, but money flows to me easily and naturally. Not I'm always broke, but I am abundantly provided for. Not I wish I had more, but I am grateful for the wealth I have and the wealth that's coming. Do you see the difference? One creates poverty, the other creates wealth. Your inner conversations are your most powerful creative tool. Use them to build wealth consciousness, not reinforce lack. Second, make decisions from abundance, not from scarcity. Every day you make countless small decisions, and each one is made from either abundance consciousness or lack consciousness. When you see something you'd like but don't buy it, because I can't afford it, you're deciding from lack. When you don't take an opportunity because what if it doesn't work out, and I lose money, you're deciding from lack. When you say no to an experience because I need to save, you're deciding from lack. I'm not telling you to be financially irresponsible. I'm telling you to check the consciousness behind your decisions. A person with wealth consciousness might choose not to buy something, but they'd think, I'm choosing to allocate my resources differently, or that doesn't align with my values, or I'm prioritizing something else right now. Not I can't afford it. That's poverty speaking. Start making decisions, even small ones, from a consciousness of abundance. Choose from desire, not from fear. Select from alignment, not from limitation. This shift in decision-making changes your entire consciousness. Third, give from your current resources. This is one of the most powerful practices for building wealth consciousness, and one of the most resisted. When you have little, your poverty consciousness says, I can't give. I barely have enough for myself. Once I have more, then I'll give. But this is backwards. Giving creates the consciousness of having. Giving affirms abundance. Giving tells your subconscious, I have more than enough. I have overflow. You don't give because you have excess. You give to create the consciousness of excess. Jesus said, give, and it shall be given unto you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. He didn't say receive and then you'll be able to give. The giving comes first. The giving creates the receiving. So starting today, give from whatever you have. If you have $100, give $5. If you have $20, give $2. If you have only $5, give 50 cents. The amount doesn't matter. The consciousness matters. When you give, even when it feels like you don't have enough, you're affirming to yourself and to God your own wonderful human imagination. I am abundant. I have more than enough. I am rich. And your subconscious, receiving this impression, begins to create conditions that match it. Fourth, notice what you already have. Poverty consciousness focuses on lack. Wealth consciousness focuses on abundance. Right now, look around your life. You have abundance everywhere, but you're not seeing it because you're trained to see lack. You have a place to live. You have food. You have clothing. You have relationships. You have abilities. You have opportunities. You have thoughts, imagination, consciousness itself. You have wealth that billions of people throughout history never possessed. Yet you feel poor because you're comparing yourself to those who have more, rather than appreciating what you actually possess. Gratitude for what you have creates the consciousness of abundance. And the consciousness of abundance attracts more to be abundant about. Start each day by noticing, really noticing what you already have. Not as a technique to get more, but as a genuine recognition of the wealth already present in your life. This shifts your consciousness from lack to abundance. And abundance consciousness creates abundant manifestations. Fifth, feel wealthy in your body. Consciousness is not just mental, it's felt in the body. A person with poverty consciousness walks hunched, hurried, tense. They carry stress in their shoulders. They move through the world as if they're late, behind, not enough. A person with wealth consciousness moves differently. They stand tall. They walk with ease. They're unhurried, unrushed, present. Their body language communicates, I have time, I have space, I have enough. Starting today, notice how you carry yourself. Are you moving like someone who's poor or someone who's rich? Walk like you're wealthy. Sit like you're abundant. Breathe like you're provided for. Not as pretending, but as claiming the consciousness of wealth in your very cells. Your body follows your consciousness, yes, but your consciousness can also follow your body. When you move like someone rich, you begin to feel rich. And when you feel rich, you become rich. Let me tell you what happens when you truly make this shift. When you stop waiting for money to make you feel wealthy, and instead choose to feel wealthy now, everything changes. You stop being desperate. Desperation repels money. Wealthy consciousness attracts it. You stop making fear-based decisions. You start making aligned decisions, and aligned decisions create wealth. You stop resenting others' success. You start celebrating it as proof that abundance is available. And what you celebrate, you attract. You stop gripping money tightly. You start letting it flow. And flow creates increase. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances. You start knowing you're the creator of circumstances. And creators create wealth. The shift from I'll be rich when I have money to I'm rich now, and money is on its way, is the shift that changes your entire financial reality. Not eventually. Not someday. Now in consciousness. And then inevitably in manifestation. Tonight before you sleep, you're going to assume wealth consciousness for the first time, regardless of your current financial situation. Close your eyes. Forget your bank balance. Forget your debt. Forget your bills. Forget everything your senses are telling you about lack, and feel wealthy. Not I'm going to be wealthy. Not I want to be wealthy. Not I'm becoming wealthy. But I am wealthy. Right now, in this moment, in consciousness. Feel what it's like to be a person who is abundantly provided for. A person who expects good things. A person who trusts completely. A person who feels worthy of wealth. A person who knows without question that they are rich. Not the things wealth would buy. Not the experiences wealth would provide. But the state of being wealthy. The consciousness of wealth. The identity of richness. Dwell there. Rest there. Fall asleep there. Impress this consciousness on your subconscious as you drift into sleep. Let the last thought you think be, I am rich. I am abundant. I am provided for. And tomorrow, wake up as that person. Don't check your bank account to see if you're rich. You already know you're rich in consciousness. And that's the only place wealth ever begins. Move through tomorrow from wealth consciousness. Speak from abundance. Decide from prosperity. Give from overflow. Notice from richness. Be rich before money. And watch how quickly money comes to confirm what you already are in consciousness. If you commit to this practice, if you truly cultivate wealth consciousness regardless of your circumstances, if you become rich in your inner world, before you see riches in your outer world, you will become wealthy. Not because you worked harder, not because you got lucky, not because circumstances changed, but because you changed in consciousness. And changed consciousness creates changed conditions. You cannot be rich in consciousness and remain poor in manifestation. It's impossible. Because the outer must reflect the inner. The world must conform to consciousness. So stop waiting for money to make you feel rich. Start feeling rich, and watch money rush to confirm what you already are. You are not poor. You've just been dwelling in poverty consciousness. You are rich. You've always been rich. You just need to claim it in consciousness before it can manifest in form. Be rich before money, and money will have no choice but to follow. Thank you, and good evening. This is Best of Lectures. I will see you in the next video.